I'm not here to check a box. I'm here to really lean in and see what they need.
Being mindful and intentional about putting rest in your calendar is going to be an important thing for
and
your
joy.
mental health and for your joy. And ultimately, it is going to affect your output from a business perspective in a positive way.
If you're wanting to build and you've got a vision and you're spending all your time in that job, and you're not able to move the needle at all where you want to go, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? And why am I doing it?
All right, Dana Grant, welcome to the show.
Brett, it is so good to meet you and see you and spend time with you. I love this.
I know. I'm having a good time. We had some technical difficulties before we went on air. We couldn't get a microphone to work. We were calling executive assistants, trying to put out this fire. It was total mayhem, but we're here. We got past it.
Yeah, total mayhem. That really was. It was like, I can't do a podcast without a mic.
It's a lot of gear. You don't realize, people that don't host podcasts, there's a lot that goes into this whole operation. There's lights and mics and cameras. And most of us don't really come from like a technology background where we know how to actually do this stuff.
Completely. I mean, I went into not panic mode because I don't panic, but I just like speed dialed her. And she goes, what is it? And I said, you know how I hopped on early when I didn't know I needed to hop on early? I went like from one podcast and I said, and I tested the mic and it wasn't there. And then we figured out how to get it. I said, it's not working.
I love it. Well, you sound great now. The vocal cords are, ringing through the microphone.
We're here. We're ready to roll.
We're here. We're ready to rock. And, I've been excited for this conversation. I've been following your content and your story for a long time. It's obvious that you've had a tremendous impact on a lot of people's lives. I mean, you've got over 100,000 followers on Instagram, speaking on stages around the world. And I know that one of the topics that is near and dear to your heart is intuition. And I kind of want to start there. I think a lot of us hear this word intuition. We don't really know what to think about it. We don't really know how to tap into it. How can we leverage and tap into our intuition?
I really love that you said, how can we leverage our intuition? I think that starting there, that's a great place to start because we leverage it with trust, and that's trusting ourselves. And that is trusting our intuition. I often say when people, and they just randomly, sometimes recklessly without knowing, do this, I trust my gut. Well, your gut is attached to your spleen. That's where all your fear is. Why are you trusting all your fear? That's not the right part of the body to trust. Intuition lives in this heart energy and the soul energy where you just get this little niggle in knowing that there's a truth there. And we ignore it because it's so prevalent. It's so easy to let it guide us, but it may go against what you're familiar with. And what you're familiar with is something much more complex and difficult. And it's like, well, you know what? There's a little bit of terror barrier there. I'm going to go back into the maze and I'm going to do this struggle because you know what? I know that. I don't know this intuition thing. And I don't know where that's going to lead me. Maybe right off the cliff or right into your absolute truth.
I guess I'm just curious, like, how do because I've got a lot of voices going on inside of my head, right? We all have a lot of voices inside of our head all day. And one of them is saying, you can do great things. You can speak on stages across the world, inspiring people. And then there's another voice that says, you really probably can't do that, and you should set your sights a little bit lower. And then there's another voice that says, I want Taco Bell for lunch. So it's like,
oh yeah, we have a minimum of 65,000 voices a day, a minimum.
There's a lot of voices. So how do I know which one to listen to?
Really, another really good question. 95% of those 65,000 minimum thoughts a day come from our subconscious, and our subconscious comes from past stories. And think about that. 95% of your daily programming is stuff that's already happened, and you're on repeat. This is what I call looping. And you have 5% of a new game, of an intuition, a truth you get to incorporate in. What are you going to do? Lean into the 95% that you already know, or go with the 5% that says, you know what? I do Taco Bell. You said Taco Bell. I do Akko Taco, or whatever it is every day. You know what? I'm going to do a salad tomorrow with chicken. Well, I don't know that. And your mind is going, we love tacos. We know we love tacos. Let's just do the tacos again. Even though if you want to change up your health and you want something different for your life, your end goal is different, but your daily habit is feeding your routine. So your intuition comes up and says, hey, do the new. It's that niggle that says, you want to get healthy. It's that reminder that, hey, try something new, try something different. We don't know this area, but What if it works? What if everything here goes really great?
So I guess it's more of like there's a different feeling that comes along with those words
It comes up through the chest. It
when it's
comes
coming
up.
from
It
your
doesn't.
intuition.
Yeah, it doesn't spin around. It comes up. You can feel it in your chest. A lot of times people say you can feel it in your stomach, your solar plex. It just feels different. And I think it isn't a voice that we're hearing. It's a feeling that we're feeling. There's a difference.
Can you give me an example of how you have heard and leveraged your intuition in your own life? I mean, you were, a rock star executive setting sales records. And at some point, something inside of you told you to leave that and become a master life coach and start inspiring people to live their own dreams. What did that look like? How did you leverage your intuition in that decision?
Leveraging my intuition was the fact that I second guessed every move up until that point. I would say yes when I meant no. I was still people pleasing. But I said yes to something I meant no on, and it was a big deal. It was a big hit. And I took that hit and I leveraged it. And I said, I'm going to listen. And my intuition was screaming no. But what came out of my mouth was sure, yes, okay. And you know what? Now I take the lesson. There is no wrong move. I get to choose to take this master move and utilize it. And it is in play every day. That intuitive voice that was saying no, I remember that. I don't live in the past, but I learned from it.
I love that. And why do so many people, maybe they've got a big dream in their heart, but why do they play small with their ambitions?
Fear of not knowing, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of just not knowing what either looks like. So it's so much easier to hear those 65,000 voices and go right back, like I say, the maze, because we're right back in the maze and we're doing what we normally do and we never move that needle. It takes, consistent, repetitive behavior in this new arena. If you want to play, and what did Brené Brown say? If you're not out there in the arena getting your ass kicked every day, you're not doing the work. It's not easy to be consistent when we're not seeing, and we see all the metaphors out there, the tree and then the branches, the fruits last. And everyone's like, I want to see some results. And I work with a lot of people. They're like, I'm doing all the work and where's the money? Well, you know what? Believe it or not, there's still money stories there that they're attached to in that 95% of their subconscious. And it's my job to identify. I listen to them. I do use my intuition. I dump out all their pieces and I move it around and I see how I can put it back together that optimizes their life.
I love that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that for sure. I think in the early stages of any venture, if you're trying to do something new, you are going to have to do a lot of work up front before you really see any results and before, the people in your life notice it and congratulate you on it. That's why it's tough for, I think, people to make that change. They've got a role that they play that people respect them for. And I know like for myself, I know, as a real estate agent for many years, like I was respected in the real estate agent community and I did great business and things of that nature. But there was just something in my heart that wanted to do something else. And this podcast was one of those things. But in the early days of a new venture, in the early days of this podcast, and we started a couple of years ago, I know we were like 20, 30 episodes in and like, it was like crickets. I mean, I'm telling you, we had like 12, 15 people listening to an episode on a good week in the early going. And it really is difficult to sustain motivation and keep taking action towards that goal when you're like, what am I doing? Like literally there's no results here. But the truth is the only way that you can fail is if you quit. And if you just keep at it and you keep pounding away, eventually something is going to give. But it can be tough in those early going stages of anything new.
It can be tough. And, and I walk alongside a lot of people that are in that, and sometimes get angry, and I get it. I have been there, but, patience and perseverance, that's just gold right there. You have to realize what you're investing in, and that's you. And your relationship with you is the only thing that really matters because that matters where and what you're going to attract and what you get out of it. When I launched my podcast show this month, it was about heart-centered actions. I'm asking different questions. I want to know deeper things from people. I want to know what moves you behind the scenes and behind that, all the way back. I want to go all the way back. And I want to know. I want to just peel back the layers because so many people hide and they don't talk the truth and they don't know how to get to that intuitive place. And I want to bring them there and show them this is your center. This is where you start. This is how you stay and leverage. It's almost like one of those, I know nothing about construction, but I got a visual. Intuitively, it gave me a visual of one of those little things that's got a little fluid in the middle of it. What do they put it on a board to see if it's a leveler? A leveler.
A leveler, yeah.
A leveler, to make sure you're level, that you're in your zone of genius. You've got to love what you do. I friggin' love what I do. Didn't always. And I set records and crashed and burned and set records and crashed and burned. And I did that because I didn't love what I was doing. But what I did, I was terrified. And that was my drive. And that's not enough to sustain you.
No, and it's scary to let go of those accolades and all that respect and credit that you built up in one area
and
of your life.
It's just a fluke. Yeah, that was a fluke, and that was a fluke. And I was terrified there, and I don't even know. I remember speaking the first time in my 20s, and that was a long time ago, 30 plus years ago, and them saying, "Hey, give us your secrets." And I'm looking at 5,000 other lobbyists and attorneys, and I'm like, why am I here? Why did they want to listen to me? I set records that have never been broken working for that pro business lobbyist group. And I'm like, someone asked me something and I said, I don't know how I did it.
I love it. I think that's an authentic answer, which I'm sure some people appreciated.
Well, I think that I thought I was competing against, right. I was the underdog. I was hired as the underdog. I didn't have the degree. They said I was like the 13th hire on that campaign. I don't even know why I showed up for it. I didn't have the education. I didn't have the law degree. I didn't know what I was doing there, but I knew something in here. I could do this. I had a skill set and I mastered that one thing. And that was communicating. I knew I was good at eye contact. I knew I could reach a person. And that's what I did. And it broke sales records. I could get in the door. My presence got me in the door. And I tried to teach it, but it's a hard thing to package, when you're telling someone to be more confident, look somebody in the eyes. I mean, there's body language. There's so much that goes into it.
Oh, for sure.
Me, yeah. Some things are natural. Other things I was a disaster at. When they tried to get me to memorize scripts, I'm like, I literally couldn't do it. I said, my brain just doesn't want to function that way. So I said, if you just give me a shot, let me go out in the field on my own. And I just did broke records after record because, I couldn't do it their way, but I knew if I could simplify it, the way my brain thinks is to simplify and go to the source. And that's what I do. I still do.
So I'm curious, but when you were out and, breaking record after record, like what was your mindset going into, these appointments or these calls? What were some of your keys to building that relationship, building that rapport?
I think simplifying it for them. Everyone at the time, it was a pro-business lobbyist group, but legislation is difficult. You could have talked about a current affair. They wouldn't have known it. People are busy running their businesses. Mm-hmm. And I'm in there to connect them and bring in lobbying money. That was my job. And I did it really well because I broke it down and I just explained. I would use, I really would. I would use phrases like the Boston Tea Party, how everyone came together. They would say, did Bob, my neighbor, did he sign up? And I would put stickers all over the place. Yep. Everyone on this block. And my feet would be bloody at the end of the day. I'd be walking in industrial parks. Oh yeah. I'm in my 20s. I was going through shoes. I was going to Payless Shoe Source and I was wearing out heels on my shoes. And at night I'd be cutting my nylons off because my feet were so bloody. But, I was using the Boston Tea Party and they threw the tea over and everybody, yay, everyone won. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, everyone's on board. What's wrong with you? Come on. We're having a party here. We're having a tea party.
So something you touched on before that I kind of want to circle back with is, the ability to love ourselves, right? The ability to be kind to ourselves internally. I think it's something that a lot of us struggle with. I know I struggle with it from time to time if I get up and I'm just, it's like 2 p.m. and I just haven't gotten everything done on my list that I wanted to do. And I watched a little bit of Netflix after lunch and didn't really hop right back into my grind. It just, we all have them. Even the top of the top performers all have days that are, not A+, they're more like a B- day. And sometimes I'll get a little hard on myself, right? And I'll be like, Brett, if you really want to do the things you say you want to do, then you really can't have days like this. How can we be better at just loving ourselves, being kind to ourselves to eventually propel us towards our goals?
Well, I think number one, not calling that a B- day. What makes that a B- day? Because it wasn't productive in a field that you needed to be productive in. Maybe you needed to be productive in rest. Or, I love sometimes TV and I love old movies. It's mind dumping for me. I'm just as productive doing that or exercising or walking or sitting outside last night. I knew I needed to be in bed. I get up at 3 a.m., but I wanted to see that moon come up. And that was productive. I could have
I
beat
like
myself
that.
up and said, "Oh, you got an hour left sleep. You're going to be struggling all day." Or I can tell myself, "Oh, this is soul food. This is what I needed. I'm going to sleep great tonight." And you know what? I need the afternoon off. I'm going to go do this for me. So it's mindset again. You went back to shaming yourself for not, you attached it to an outcome. How about attaching it to you? You're worthy of taking the afternoon off and watching a movie. You're worthy of throwing some popcorn in and your favorite beverage, ordering some pizza. I mean, this is that leverage, that leveler, the balance that we need. It cannot be go time all the time, regardless of what it looks like out there. It's those high low moments. Yeah, no one's showing the moments that they're like taking their clothes off from Zoom all day or wherever and podcasting and going in, putting their feet up, putting an ice bag on their head, putting a movie on and, thinking maybe I need to get 32 ounces of water and there's my goal. But whatever that is, you do it. However you get to care for yourself, you get to decide.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I think that sometimes we, as entrepreneurs or just, high performers or just motivated people that, we see like a day of rest as a failure when really it's not. I think, sometimes that's what we need is just to sit down and, binge watch some true crime on Hulu. Like that's okay once in a while. Now, listen.
I say rest is the new black. The slower I go, the more money I make, the more I attract, the more on point I am, the faster I win. I missed a lot.
For sure.
And, and I look at it and I thought, was that more productive? No, it was scattered. I'm looking at old messages and I'm like, oh, I didn't follow up. I was just going through this little thing on Instagram in the back. I'm retraining somebody, a new person. And I looked at a primary, there's a primary. And then if you're not connected, it goes into an invisible section where you don't see their messages. And there was a general one. And I'm like, oh, what's this general one? And I'm looking at it and it goes back to 2020, tons of people that reached out to have me on their show. And I didn't see it.
Really?
I didn't see any of it. And I didn't answer. And one of them I answered, didn't follow up because everything is in a primary, not a general box. And I forgot it was there. And I'm like, wow, I was going so fast to build, so hungry to build. Didn't get more successful doing that. Not until I slowed down and I did the work. And I wash, rinse, repeat, repetition, wash, rinse, repeat. I just kept showing up.
Yeah, I agree. I think being mindful about, and intentional about putting rest in your calendar is going to be an important thing for your mental health and for your joy. And ultimately it is going to affect your output from a business perspective in a positive way. If you're blocking off time to spend with your family, you're blocking off time to watch your favorite TV shows, to work out, to go for walks, all that is investing. All that is investing in yourself, and that investment is going to pay dividends down the road.
I absolutely agree with that. I just, you said that I had to look down and put my glasses on because I couldn't read my handwriting. Not that the glasses helped, but Simon Sinek said, there's something about the 8-minute friend that you just heart connect with someone, because as entrepreneurs as well, we self-motivate, we can self-isolate, and just 8 minutes with one friend to reach out and let that be your connection, your opening, your vulnerability of saying, hey, you know what? I'm feeling this today. What about you? But that vulnerability and that heart connection, it's our heart source again, our heart energy of, and where the ego will protect, divide, separate. Don't let anyone know you're watching Netflix today. Oh, don't answer the phone. Oh, I almost hit FaceTime. No, we want everyone to think that, yep, I'm grinding all the time. No, what would it be if we just said, yeah, I'm taking a walk. I'm out here looking at the butterflies in my backyard. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I love it. Now, the 8-minute friend, I haven't heard that one. Is that like a 8-minute phone call to a friend? Like what exactly is that? I'm curious.
It's Simon Sinek. And, he shares that it's an 8-minute friend. It's the power of one person to share with. Spend 8 minutes reaching out to someone, connecting with one other human, one person that, you know, that you obviously know care. You don't want to reach out to someone who just doesn't ever answer your call
Sure.
for help, but it is kind of it's a call for connection. And I think our hearts are wired to connect. They're not wired to be on. Think about it. Are we wired to be on and to be working 10, 15 hours a day?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
No,
I don't
the
think so.
balance, the lack of the heart energy has got to be pumped. It's got to be radiant. We're drawn to people not because of how good they're or what they do or their goals. It's the feeling you can see in them that radiates, that energy that you see, and it's like, what are they doing? Are they taking extra supplements, or is that? I just said that to someone. What are you doing? You're glowing all the time, and I mean, he is literally glowing all the time. And I thought he's not at the top of his game. You know what? But he's satisfied. He's satisfied with his rhythm. He loves the way he's built his life. And that's all that matters. Not what anyone out here thinks about us, but what we think about us.
Yeah, no, I
Like
got
that B
completely.
minus. She rated your free time a B minus. And I'm like, oh no, that's an A plus time.
I love it. I love it. I totally agree. Right. Success to me is a 360-degree thing, right? Sure. It's your finances, your business, but it's also relationships, and it's also your health. If you're kicking butt in business, but you don't have a single true friend in this world, and your relationship with your family stinks, then I don't call that success. Or maybe, and on the flip side, maybe you've got great relationships, but you've been neglecting your health, and you're overweight and you feel like crap. Like, that's not super successful either. I think you've got to invest in all three areas of life to really live this life to its fullest. And
not shame ourselves when we get off balance. I mean, I just was on stage last year at the Unstoppable event, and I talked about losing 50 pounds. And I'm not quite sure how I gained it. It was rapid, but I know how I did it now. I was sitting, I forewent exercise, I was driven, my head was down, and I was also going through some drama and some grief, and my whole life kind of went ba-boom. And then I just sat there and I leaned into work a little harder. I did get the help I needed, but I think through that process, I never shamed myself for it. Even though my life looked out of balance, that pendulum that swung actually got me in the best balance I've ever been in. I really loved myself through it. And I just kept asking, what feels like love? What feels like love in your life? And food, pizza at midnight didn't feel like love. Working and getting off, and it didn't feel like love to me, but eating healthy did feel like love. Taking my green drinks and getting my water in and all the things I love, that feels like love. Eating organically, being in my garden. I'm growing a garden. I don't even have time to make it. It's like I'm giving my veggies away, and it's
I like that question a lot. What feels like love? That's really powerful stuff. I'm curious, are there any other kind of like mantras or questions that you ask yourself on a regular basis to kind of keep yourself on the right track?
Well, there's a mirror work I do.
Let's talk about that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I do it every morning. So I wake up, and I am such a creature of habit in the morning. I roll out very early, and I never hit the snooze. It's just, I just, when it goes off, I'm up, I'm ready.
You're like,
I feel
let's go.
ready.
Let's take this. I love it.
So I go and I hit the coffee, and I go right into the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, okay, girl, Dana, what do you need today? What do you need today? So I go until my intuition, until I feel it in my chest. This is what you need. I don't want it to say, oh, you got to work. I don't even look at the calendar. I don't pick up the phone. I don't see my schedule yet. And there's some days I look at it, I'm like, woo, who booked that? 9 clients, 4 podcasts. What's going on here? I'm not a machine. Then I'll send messages. I'm not a machine. And they're like, hey, it was the only time you had open. And they said, you can do it. And I'm like, you can do it? Yeah, I can do it. But I ask myself, in the mirror, what do I need? And then I ask the second question, does it feel like love? Because for me, everything is wired through my heart. I stay out of my ego energy because I can't think of anything. I mean, it's there to divide, separate, judge. And I'm judging myself in that ego space. And I want to make sure I stay real clear with love for Dana, that I tell her every day, hey, you know what? When we know better, we do better. And today, this from yesterday. Let's apply that. Or, oh, why don't we do this today? How fun would that be? And I do that. And I look in the mirror and I ask, hey, what do you need from me today? And I teach my clients how to do this too, because we have to listen to us, to our heart energy, not someone else's. Oh, well, they look like they're doing it right. I think I'll go over there and do it their way. You're just going to spin your wheels in a very big arena.
I'm a
Think
big fan of
about
that.
doing wheelies. You're out there in your car doing wheelies in that big arena.
Right. What do you need, and does that feel like love? I think those are two pretty powerful questions. I can't say I do a mirror exercise, but I have gotten back into affirmations recently,
Ooh,
and the
yeah.
ones I've been. So I get up, and the first thing I do at like 6 a.m. is I just put my shoes on. I just go for a walk outside. And while I'm walking around, I do a little gratitude first. I say a few things that I'm grateful for out loud. Usually it's my family or, the beautiful day in front of me, the opportunity
Yeah.
I've got for this week. And then I focus on some affirmations. And some of the ones I've been focusing on recently are, I am a hard worker. I'm courageous. I'm a man of
Mm.
great vision. And it's funny. The more I say these things out loud, and I try and say them with emotion, it's like 6 a.m. So there's no one
Yeah.
around. At least I'm hoping there's no one around, because I probably look like a total lunatic saying these things out loud
Oh, not at all. They probably say, I'm going to do that too.
with a lot
I'm
of
going
them.
to do
I
that
hope
too.
so. I hope so. But it really is funny. I started doing this again like 2 weeks ago, and I've started seeing these qualities show up in my day, just in my personality, in my life, like really more so. Like I gotta say, since I have been doing that, I am a hard worker affirmation, I honestly have been more focused and more diligent on my work in the last 2 weeks. And I got to believe that there's a connection there. I really do believe we can kind of
Oh, absolutely.
rewire our subconscious to believe that we have
Yeah.
these traits. Do you do anything of that sort in the affirmation or manifestation field, vision boards, anything like that?
Oh yeah, I do a little bit of all of that. When I
Okay.
started, I did a lot of clarity board classes where I didn't want them to overthink and just pick and put what they did, and then on the back I did a calendar on how we were going to move that needle and what they picked, how that was going to move. I wish I could do live classes like that still. I loved that, but they're local, and I think that I might do that this next year again. I couldn't really do it online; it was too difficult because I really love a live event, and I haven't held a live event since a couple years. I've been to a lot of live events as a speaker, but my own event, I think it's been a year and a half. I want to say I can't remember.
Yeah,
2 years. Yeah.
you used to host them in Italy, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do that, but
So cool.
I'm thinking, an event like in my home
Oh,
area.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, I travel, I do that. Yeah. And we do those there. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me that I do that.
I mean,
Every October. Yeah.
that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah. I take women on a ride. It's like, I mean, Italy alone is a transformation. But yeah, I think that what you say is, our thoughts, it's been scientifically proven that our thoughts are going to run our life, and we're going to speak our life into existence. So what you're doing is you're speaking your truth into existence, and you're reprogramming that 95% that's saying you're not a hard worker. You're a B minus. You're B minus. Look at you. You're not worthy of even, you better get up tomorrow, make it a double A plus because you're, laying on the couch watching Netflix right now, and you're not even enjoying the Netflix. If you're going to do it, at least love what you're doing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we go around the table now with our affirmations. Now I've gotten my partner Kim into it, and one of her affirmations is "I am decisive." And then my 2-year-old gets into it. I think he said the other day, "I am a construction site." So he's trying.
Oh, hey, you know what? I love
he's
that.
Working on it.
Are we not? I mean, how brilliant is that though? We are all under construction. We're all we're all a building site. We're never going to arrive. The people that think we've arrived, we're never going to arrive. If you're in this, you're in this for the long haul. You're always building additions
so
on.
True. Oh my God, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I can't wait to tell that to my family over the dinner table tonight. They're gonna laugh.
Yeah, he's genius.
That's so true.
I always say that everyone's got a genius in them. He's genius. He's giving you guys all the nuggets, and you're like spiritually bypassing
good.
it.
We are all a construction site. We are all a work in progress. That is my favorite moment of the podcast. That's my favorite moment of the week. That's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
So curious, you're obviously like a pretty driven person, right? Setting sales records. You run a very successful business now, speaking on stages all over the world. Do you ever, and maybe you don't, and I don't think all people do you ever feel laziness? Do you ever feel a little resistance to the work you should be doing? Maybe you don't. Curious if you do.
I don't know if resistance is what I feel. If I get tired, I honor it. I see people that
Mm-hmm.
work on planes, and
Mm-hmm.
it's true. I do fly first class. I do, and guess what? I enjoy it. I often sleep. I don't drink, so I'm not, I'm not loading up on alcohol. But you know what? I put my earphones on and I listen to music. I allow that time to be really expansive for me. I look out the window. I take videos and pictures of the clouds. I look at the horizon. I daydream. I allow myself that time. I mean, I guess I could be working, but I delegate a lot too. I'm a big delegator. My back end has a lot of moving pieces, and I pick really talented people to do it. And if they didn't, I'm not quite sure I could do it. It's not my gift. I stay in my wheelhouse on what I know can run this business. And it's a passion. It's a love. I have a deep love. A deep love for it.
I love it. And I think that sure, delegation, if you want to expand your impact or your brand, then
Oh yeah.
delegation is going to be pivotal in that.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's maybe your good first hire as an executive assistant, maybe outsourcing marketing or sales and product delivery. I think
Yeah.
that, getting comfortable with and getting over that fear of, delegating is so important. I know if I would
Oh
have
yeah.
never hired my executive assistant 2 years ago, there's no way I'd have a podcast right now because I
No.
would just have way too much on my plate on a daily
Yeah.
basis to
No
ever
way. Yeah.
have the bandwidth to book a guest and prepare for a show and film a show and then
Edit a show.
have it edited and then splice it up into video clips. Like, no
Yeah.
way, none of that would
No.
happen. So
No.
I would say
Yeah.
to any entrepreneur that feels like they're kind of drowning in back end stuff and they're, generating enough revenue to do so, that just hiring, to me, I think an executive assistant is a great first hire. I think just hiring an assistant can really just open up so much time for you and just allow you to kind of sit back and look big picture at your life and realize what projects you really want to be going after right now. For me,
Yeah.
it was really, really influential. And it sounds like
Yeah.
it
And
certainly was for yourself as well.
oh, absolutely, Brett. And I think you can't afford not to. If it's under $45 now, you can't afford not to do it. Because if you're wanting to build and you've got a vision and you're spending all your time in that job and you're not able to move the needle at all where you want to go, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? And why am I doing it? I think everything is anchored into a deeper emotion and feeling. And sometimes people are like, I'm so busy. And they've glorified being busy. I don't glorify being busy anymore. In fact, I'm going to tell you, I don't ever bring my laptop when I'm traveling, ever.
I love
I'll use
that.
my phone. I tap it everywhere. An Apple phone is like a mini computer. I can look at all the emails. I can do everything I want to do, but I've got people to do that for me. And I usually don't work at events. I don't pull in clients. I tried and it's a disaster. It's messy. I'm not fully there. It's just checking the box. I'm not here to check a box. I'm here to really lean in and see what they need. So now I schedule the time off when I'm at events and I say, okay, if you work with me, this is what it's going to look like. But I'm going to give you 1,000%. And they do get tech support. So that phone is important.
People
And
really do wear busyness like a badge of honor
yeah,
these days. And, you ask someone, how you doing? And they go, busy. And the other person goes, oh, busy is good. It's like, no, it's not.
yeah, yeah,
No,
no,
it's
it's not.
not.
Yeah,
Living an intentional life and putting your time in the areas that are most important and making, ample time for rest and relationship cultivation. Like that to me sounds good.
yeah,
Like busy,
yeah,
just busy
yeah.
doesn't sound like a great mindset to go through life with.
Nor can I lead being busy.
Right.
If I glorify that, it really doesn't emulate into a productive work ethic that I would be sharing with people because I know it just leads to burnout. We can just go right through the 5 stages of stress and hit burnout. We can just jump right there. And, burnout is kind of the badge that overachievers and people that get stuff done go right into. They slide right into burnout like home base.
Totally
So
true.
delegating
Totally.
is great. Yeah.
Delegation is key. And so I did a deep dive on your content, but before our interview here, and you've got a really a great Instagram presence for one. I think your content's very authentic. I think it's
Thank you.
impactful, and you've got some great quotes on there that I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of them. But one of them is that, and I love this one: our soul has an assignment. Can you just talk about that one for a bit?
Yeah, I don't know where I came up with that, but I
I love
believe, yeah,
I love
thank you.
that. That is powerful stuff.
We are here on assignment, and I think we're all connected, and I'm not talking dogma or religion. I'm talking about source. I believe God is my God. So I've got source. And yes, being born and intuitive, we can say intuitive. I don't like the word psyche. I don't like that. Yes, I can see things, but I am connected to the light and to the source and to God. And for me, we all have this soul, and our soul expands. It doesn't even recognize the attack of the ego. It's not shaming us. It's not dogging us. It's there to expand and ask what feels like love. What do you need? It's asking all the high vibrational energy questions. It's attracting the joy, and it wants the love. It wants to be fed. And so, what was the question again on the quote?
No, so the quote was, "Our soul
Yeah.
has an assignment."
Yeah.
Right. And I just
So,
think that's so
and it's our job to
powerful.
listen. Yeah. It's our job to listen to that. Yeah. I was going to go way into the ego, soul, energy,
No worries.
but yeah,
Let's go
but
there. I'm totally okay with that. But I completely
yeah,
agree. I do think that our soul does have an assignment, and deep down, we probably know what we're here to do.
oh yeah,
I think it's been with us for a long time, and we probably
yeah,
know where we should be putting our efforts. There's just a lot of fear inside of us. What if it doesn't work out? But I completely agree.
yeah,
Our
yeah,
soul does have an assignment, and
yeah.
we'd all be a lot better off if we actually just took action on that assignment.
Well, it's people's greatest fear, that terror barrier of what if everything worked out right. And I love universal laws, law of polarity. If the desire is there, which comes from this, the soul desires, ego doesn't desire anything but safety, division, shutting it down, controlling this expansive place, like the law of polarity is like the answer is already available to you. You're already on the playing field, and I think that we have to recognize where we're aligned again. And are you doing what you love? And, I asked this question at an event I spoke at last year I got angry. Someone came up and I said, what do you want? And oh, well, I want to make 5,000. And I said, okay, let's go a little more expansive. What do you want? And then they went a little bit deeper. And then I'm like, what do you fucking want?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe I said it on stage. And I'm like, oop, I about to bleep me out there. I don't know where that came from, but man, I meant it. And she just sat there and she goes, oh, right. And she let it out what she wanted. I said, there it is. There it is. That's where we start, right there. A place that it was so far past her glass ceiling, her high lows. She couldn't even make the concept. It wasn't even on the playing field for her, but she claimed it. When she said, I want that, that means she desired that. Her answer is already on the playing field. Okay, now we've got a starting point, but we've got to, I think my job is to push people way out of their comfort zones.
For sure.
And I do.
For sure.
And I do, because that saying nothing grows, or nothing does. Nothing does. That would be true.
How do we get past, I think like so many of us, deal with occasionally this kind of scarcity as mindset, right? Where we're like, why am I going to start a podcast? There's already a million podcasts.
Yeah.
Why am I going to go be a coach? There's already 10,000 coaches out there.
More ego energy, divide, separate, judge, shut you down. Yeah.
It's that scarcity mindset. How do we leave that scarcity mindset behind and start to really go after that abundance mindset?
You have to know that, our soul is on a mission. I am aligned with my soul's mission. I am here and I know what I'm here to do. I love my work. I'm connected to it. I'm always learning. I'm a learner. I love to read. I'm always expanding, and I'm always asking myself the questions. Does this feel like love? Is this aligned? Do you really want to do that? I was terrified to start my podcast. That sat there for 8 years, 8 false launches. And I'm like, yep, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I just woke up one day and I said, today's the day, 8/8, Lion's Portal. That's the day. And, for whatever reason, wherever I was guided, that intuition said it will happen. And I don't think my team really understood what I was going to launch or what was attached to it. But when I said it's go time, it was like, do you understand? We're going. Now is the time. I think I didn't even understand really quite the depths of what it was I wanted to say until I did it. And I think we can't stay in our head over it. in the struggle. Oh, there's so many I mean, I'm drawn to podcasts, but I'm pretty specific on timeframes of what I can listen to. I get clips and favorite ones. So you're right. There is a lot out there, but who's to say their life isn't going to be changed by yours, by this one right here? You're not going to change one life because it's one person at a time, one person. So, I mean, you said only 12 listeners, a dozen lives you could have changed.
It's a good point. That's a good point,
Yeah.
right? If you were standing in front of a room of 12 people and you were speaking, you would give them everything you got. So
Absolutely.
even an audience that small, or people, will talk about, their Instagram followings and be like, oh, my reel only got, 500 views. Like, that's 500 people. And, I bet a handful of them actually took what you said and placed it into their lives. Maybe they put it into action, and maybe it made a difference for them. So I think, we need to get out of our own heads about our audience not being big enough, or there's so many podcasts out there.
And we're judging, Brett. We're looking at someone who's got, a top number one podcast, and we want to start at number one. You got to meet yourself where you are. It's okay to be new. It's okay to start out. I look at mine right now and I look at where I want it to go. And I don't think about being number one. I think about reaching as many people with the messages and pulling in people that I want to have heartfelt conversations with.
I think that's an intrinsic motivator that will keep you going. I think if your only motivator is to be at the top of the podcast standings, then you're going to burn out, because you're not going to get there quickly enough for you to maintain motivation and keep taking action. But if your motivator is just to have the best conversations you can have, to deliver the most value to the audience you've currently got, then that is motivation that can keep you going. And to me, like, that's why I do this. I'm like, whoever's listening today, I'm going to give them everything I got. And hopefully they walk away from this episode with 2 or 3 things that they can implement in their lives and be better for. But it certainly can be a tough journey or early going. But I think that if you got the right why in this game, or really any game, then you can certainly sustain action.
You're so right, Brett. And I'm going to say, it's never the goal we're after. It never is. We're never after the goal.
There'll be another goal.
We're after the feeling the goal gives us.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. What do we want? So there's your secondary. We always have to peel that layer back and say, what am I really wanting to feel? Because that's why we chase things. That's because we want to feel valuable, or number one, or invincible, or unstoppable. How about just meet ourselves where we are and just really enjoy the ride? It's so much fun. I'm having so much fun. I had no idea I'd have so much fun, and I'm having a blast.
Hell yeah, Dana. I'm having a blast too. Even
when the mic doesn't work, I'm like, oh my God.
You know what though? We got past it. It might have taken us, 15 minutes to start, but we got past it, and here we are. And Dana, thank you so much for your time. I know you are a busy lady, and you took some time out to talk to us today and talk to my audience, and we really appreciate you.
It's an honor to be here. It's so nice meeting you and talking with you. I really dig you. I like your energy.
Thanks, Dana. I like your energy too. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this again. And where can everyone, find you, keep up with all you got going on? Because you got a lot going on.
Well, you know what? Yeah, there's always stuff going on. Did you ask me what's going on right now?
No, sorry. Where can people follow you and keep up with you online?
Oh gosh, they can find me at danagrant.com. They can find me at The Real Dana Grant on the Insta, the Gram. My daughters say, don't say IG anymore, Mom. It's the Gram. And I'm like, okay. Really?
Nice. I didn't know that. That's news to me.
I have daughters in their 30s. They're like, it's the Gram.
Cool.
And, I still, they're not on Facebook anymore. It's not cool to be on Facebook, but you can find me just about anywhere. I'm out there. That's true. It's just danagrant.com. And I answer all my messages. It may take me a while to get to them. And my team will flag me and say, hey, you said you'd answer them. These people are taught, and I will go and answer them. So I love to connect with people. I love to help.
Give Dana Grant a Google search. Follow her everywhere. Dana Grant, great name, right? Can't forget that name. You hear Dana Grant once, it's like you got that name in your memory forever.
I love that. It's in my memory forever. I'm feeling it.
Dana, thank you for being with us. Everyone out there, also, thank you for joining us. This has been Persistence Playbook. And remember this week, guys, when you feel that laziness, that resistance crop up, and it will come calling for you, remember what your why is. Lean into your why and take action anyway. We'll see you next week, guys. Take care.